time to listen now to Dado Van Peteghem. He's an external keynote speaker. He will tell more about artificial intelligence and what's in this for us as a people company, an HR and payroll company. What can we do with artificial intelligence without losing the contact with our customers? So here is Dado.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to speak to you today about the power of AI, so I hope that I can inspire you a bit around the topic. I'm a kid from the 80s. I grew up with the Game Boy, playing a lot of Mario Bros. And Tetris, and I see a lot of people nodding, so you probably remember those nostalgic days of gaming in 8 and 16 bits. This is the device that triggered my passion for digital and technology. And the second device that did the same was the first internet modem that we had, the robotics, US robotics, which made that nostalgic sound that you might remember. Do you still remember? Still such a great day. We had patience then. We had to wait 5 minutes before you were connected. I still see Netscape turning around before you had a connection. And I always say, I still hear my parents yelling from the kitchen, Dado, you need to stop the internet now, because we have to call. It was on the same line as the telephone. So the early internet in the 90s, then came social media, as you know, with Facebook in 2004, Twitter in 2006. The rise of the first mobile devices, I already saw it in the presentation of Kobe, Nokia. One of my best devices ever was the Nokia 3310 with Snake. I spent too much of my time playing Snake, but I was a master at it. Then came the iPhone in 2007, and then the first tablets, first iPad came in 2010, which made that everything that happened beforehand brought it into our pockets. And right now, as you know, we are facing another step in technology with this spectacular race of artificial intelligence. I'm writing a book on the topic called The Virtual Economy, which will come out next week. And we believe that AI is really something that will impact the coming decade a lot. And that's why you hear it everywhere today, everywhere you go. I also saw the magazine of Kobe in the presentation. Everything that you visit or that you open as a magazine, newspaper, talks about AI. So it's AI, 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 or ay, as some people think. But it's coming fast. And this is also the opinion of Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, who wrote an open letter, which I can really recommend, with the title, The Age of AI Has Begun, where he outlines his vision on the impact on artificial intelligence. And he says it's on the same level as the personal computer, and that it will change not only our companies, our jobs, but also society at large. The fact that it's coming fast is also clear in the user adoption. Here you see some of the technologies that we all know, and how much time it took them to get to 1 million users. And then you see at the bottom ChatGPT, which reached 1 million users in only 5 days, which is mind-blowing. Mostly, if you hear people talk about technology, it's always about the future, but this is very much right now. It's happening as we speak. One of the companies that is benefiting from this whole evolution is NVIDIA. I don't know if you ever heard about NVIDIA. I've always been a gamer, so NVIDIA was responsible for the processing units in computers to make sure that games could render. And today they are benefiting from this whole evolution because it seems that the processing units for games are also the processing units that are needed for AI to run at scale. And so they're increasing their value a lot. The results are staggering. So if you look at the stock exchange, NVIDIA was worth around 350 billion at the beginning of this year and then tripled. They just announced their new numbers, and it's a rocket. I think, obviously, like in anything, there will get to competition and things will start to balance out. But NVIDIA is one of the major winners in this whole evolution, driven by the user adoption, which is huge. Now, NVIDIA is not the only company in the AI markets that is benefiting. There are many companies, and basically all leading tech companies, that are looking at this evolution. We all heard about ChatGPT. The parent company of it is called OpenAI. And what is interesting is that it's not just about ChatGPT. The secret sauce is in what they call the large language model. So that's the algorithm that runs on data and that is possible or enabling to do new kinds of data based on what it has learned. OpenAI is the main one that we know, but there are other companies like Google who are following very closely. Google is working on Palm, which is its own language model, and has a platform called BART, which is the user interface to use that language model. Then everybody thought that Zuckerberg overplayed his hand with the metaverse, but he's also working very actively on AI. Meta has a specific division called Meta.ai, and their language model is called Llama, and they have open sourced it to the market. The fourth one is Amazon, who just did an enormous investment in Anthropic, a leading company in AI, and their language model is called Claude. And then everybody always asks me, what are the Chinese doing? Well, they also have their own language model coming out of the Tsinghua University, which is called ChatGLM. So it's very clear if you look at the market that the race around AI is very much on, and that all the big tech companies that we know are some way or another trying to see how they can be involved in this. Now, the history of AI is already going on for a bit of a longer time. The birthplace is considered to be happening in Dartmouth in 1956, where 10 professors gathered to talk about smart thinking machines. But it took them 40 years before the first use case. I don't know if you remember what happened here, or if you recognize the person in the picture. Exactly, it's Garry Kasparov, and this is considered to be the first milestone in AI, because in 1997, he was beaten by Deep Blue, the chess computer from IBM, at the game of chess, 3 games to 2. And it took them 10 years. So 10 years, IBM tried to program the chess computer, always lost. And then for the first time in 97, they were able to beat him. Now today, the leading world champion is Magnus Carlsen. And he has a rating of 2,800. And the chess computer already today has a rating of 3,800. So it's impossible for a human champion to ever win against a chess computer. Now, chess, you could argue, is a hard game, but for a computer, it's easy because it's calculatable. And they can see how many moves you need to do, so a computer can get its head around that. And that's why the evolution that we see now is much more difficult and much more complex. Because it's not just about chess moves, it's about creating new content out of data that it has gathered. And the leading company that brought it, I would say, above the radar is OpenAI with ChatGPT. But people only heard about it in 2022. So ChatGPT was launched around 10 months ago. In November 22, it came on the market. But OpenAI was already founded in 2015. Elon Musk was also part of that group. But the leading person is Sam Altman. You can see him here on the left. He's 38 years old. And he's gathering with a lot of people, and also a lot of people in the tech world. On the right-hand side, you can see Satya Nadella, the current CEO of Microsoft. And why this is important is because they decided to invest $10 billion into OpenAI. That means that all the products that we use from Microsoft Office, so PowerPoint, Word, Excel, but also Windows, will be integrated with the core language model of OpenAI. I think that's a very smart move that they have done, and putting Microsoft again on the top of the map. As Kobe said, they have reinvented themselves many times, and I think this is one of the most brilliant moves that they have made to, again, be at the leading forefront of technology. And then everybody thinks, where is Google? So Google has launched BART.ai. Whom of you has tried BART before? I think that's 4 or 5 people. I can really recommend it. It's free, so the only thing you need is a Google account, and you can try it yourself. The link is there in blue, bart.google.com, if you want to try it out, and is the main competitor of ChatGPT. Now, what is interesting, if you look at the smartness of these platforms, is that the IQ level of ChatGPT today is to be considered at 150. So 150 is genius level. Einstein had an IQ of 160. The smartest people in the world around 200. So it's amazing to see that today already ChatGPT has an IQ level of 150. And the projections indicate that this will go tenfold in the course of the next 5 to 10 years. So I always say we are in AI kindergarten. We are just starting out with a lot of opportunities, but also some things to take into account. Now, I already asked a question around BART. Whom of you has tried ChatGPT before? Okay, well, that's almost everyone. Whom of you has tried it on a weekly basis? Okay, that's, I think, half of the room. Whom of you is trying it on a daily basis? I think that's around 10% probably. I would recommend you to, if you use it on a weekly basis, to try to do it daily. If you use a daily ChatGPT, try Google or one of the other platforms, because that's really where you see what value it can bring and how it might impact the business in which you are. ChatGPT now also has an app, so it's available on your phone as an application, and it works even with speech recognition. So you can speak to the app, and I have to say the power of the speech recognition is enormous. It's very much correct and on point. And so you can use it everywhere with a free account. What they also did, ChatGPT, is announcing plugins. So people sometimes say, yeah, but Dado, it can come up with a text, but it cannot still do X, Y, and Z. But what they're working on is to connect the language model to plugins, meaning that they want to use the power of their algorithm in combination with other tools. So for example, here I've pasted a YouTube link, and then I asked it to summarize that video. And you will see that in the background, it connects with a plugin called Video Insights to fully summarize my text. And then if I say I want it to have a summary in Italian, I want it to have it in 5 bullet points, it will accommodate to that question. And that's how it will go in the future. For example, Expedia, the travel platform, also has a partnership with OpenAI, where you can now book a trip. So you can say, I come to Bruges, I will spend here 1 week, I want to visit 1 museum, I'm coming with 2 kids, can you give me a possible itinerary? And then you will be able to ask it, can you book me the entire itinerary, can you connect with the hotel, and so forth. So OpenAI is expanding beyond its own data sets and connecting to other tools. Microsoft being the leading one, but also a lot of smaller players. Now, just to make sure that you understand kind of the full domain, AI is a broad topic. It's a full research scope. The main difference between AI and normal computers is that AI can learn by itself. So a computer, I once studied computer sciences in Ghent, and so we had to code if this then that in Java, great days. But now an AI platform, you don't have to tell the rules by which it needs to make a decision. It learns by looking at large data sets. And so machine learning means it learns by itself. Deep learning talks about the fact that it uses a lot of data to find answers and to come up with new information. And this is where generative AI is sitting in the full equation. So the large language models are the secret sauce. That's the gold mine of these companies. And generative AI is a domain within the broad artificial intelligence domain where a lot of traction is happening today. Now, what can you do? You can write text. I think everybody tried it out by now to write something simple or a poem or a thank you email. But you can also write code. And I think that's quite amazing. So I studied computer sciences. And when people asked me, what would you advise your kids to study? I always said software engineering, because that's a high-paid job. There are never enough people. It's always in demand. But today, I'm not so sure anymore. If you see how fast these systems can write code or how they can debug code, it's phenomenal to see. So text and code, it can create images. So for example, it can create you a building, or it can create you an advertising campaign, or it can come up with images for a painting. So everything visual related. Audio is the third one, meaning voices for commercials, but also voices for customer service, for example. They're very close to having customer service in AI, where you can speak to a person as if that person would be real. Today, if you see the videos online, there is still a bit of latency, meaning if you speak, you still have to wait a few seconds too much to make it really real. But the voice sounds already very much on point, and I think we are months away to make that happen at scale. For example, McDonald's and Wendy's are experimenting with the self-drive-through, where you will have a poll, and normally, if you go to McDonald's, there's always somebody sitting in the restaurant with a headset, taking your order. I think that must be a very stressful job, because it's also the person that has to give the bags at the window and then taking orders. So she or he has to do both things. But in the future, I think AI will be part of that self-drive-through poll where you will be able to give your order. So music, commercials in advertisements, customer service will benefit from this. Video and 3D, but then also acting as a second brain. And this is how I use ChatGPT today the most, is to come up with ideas or to challenge the ideas that you have. It acts as a kind of sparring partner. You could even say it's some kind of 24/7 available colleague that is never tired, always optimistic, never complains. So I use it a lot as my kind of sparring partner. Now, what the future will be is that these 5 domains will not be sitting in one tool or another, but they will be combined in what they call multimodal AI. So today, ChatGPT can only create text. I already showed you the plugins, but the next version of ChatGPT will also be enabled to make images. And this is a video they launched 2 weeks ago, so I want to show it to you to see how it can create a bedtime story. So you get the point, it's amazing, right? And this is not, again, something for the future. They are rolling it out next month for everybody who has ChatGPT Plus, the paying subscription of the platform. So it's very much here to create, again, something for your kids, for yourself, but also in a professional environment. Now, I said it's also a 24/7 brain, and the thing that got most of my attention last week was the fact that ChatGPT announced computer vision. So it can now look at the reality around you. It can look at a picture, but also at a video. And what you will see in the next video is an example for training purposes, where ChatGPT can ask you to take a picture of something that you want to create or solve, and then it will assist you in the process. So have a look at the video. I will move on, but I think you get the picture, right, how it works. So you can take a picture of your toolbox, ask it to solve. So this is in a private setting, but imagine if you're an engineering company to train people, to make sure they understand how to do things. This will speed up onboarding and training a lot. This is an example of Google Bard again, and so the vision recognition is clearly one of the next big bets of these companies, where, for example, you can upload a screen of a website or a screen of a mobile phone, and then you can ask it, can you revert this screen into a coding language called Jetpack Compose, and it just comes up with the code. So that's where I'm showing you, I studied coding, how this complete domain will be changed. So the puck is moving fast. Amazon is kind of late to the party. Last week they announced that they would invest $4 billion into Anthropic, which is the creator of Claude, the language model. Then Spotify, for the people who listen to podcasts, Daniel Ek, the CEO, just announced that all the podcasts that are now being created in one language will be on the fly available in all other languages, not dubbed, but with the voice of the creator, just translated all with AI. And so then there is ChatGPT, which can now see, hear, and speak. So yeah, it's a fascinating revolution that, again, is not coming out in 5 to 10 years. It's happening very much here and now. Now, I'm completely aligned with what Kobe said. I'm a believer in us as human beings, that we always reinvent ourselves. So I'm not in the camp of this will destroy jobs. There will be an impact, but I believe that we are able to come up with new stuff where we can show our relevance. And the main driver of that is education, and also how we educate our kids. I have two kids. My son is 8, my daughter is 11. And if I look how they're running education or are sitting in classes, it's completely different than how we were taught information. This is how most of us experienced school, a chalkboard and a teacher in the front. Sometimes it was interesting, sometimes a bit less. We spend a lot of hours, but this is how we got taught information. Whether it was in younger school, whether it was in university, it was mostly like this. And then I think all of us, if I look in this room, also saw this evolution. The overhead projector, that was amazing. Like you had these sheets, and then they could write on it, and you could see the colors on the wall, on the chalkboard mostly. So amazing how that changed. That was the reinvention for the teacher. They could already prepare everything, just show it, made their lives easier and more interesting for us. Then I think the next step was actually what we're seeing right now in this room as well, the overhead projectors that made everything into slides connected to the computer and so forth. If I look at my kids today, this is how I see them sitting in the classroom. They're working with tablets. They're working with Google Classroom in the evening. They have to find their homeworks. And they all also play little games on their tablets to make the teaching experience and the learning experience more fun. But I think the next step in this, and I think it will happen in the generation of my kids and probably the generation of a lot of your kids as well, is that they won't only have a teacher connected to a tablet with some gamed experiences that are generic for everyone, but it will be very much personalized with what they call AI tutors. So see it as a ChatGPT that understands that me, Dado, is maybe good at maths, but maybe not so good at French, and it will give me exercises around it. And this is a short video that explains that.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hi, I'm the synthesis tutor, and I'm here to help you learn.
What? I love this idea.
That seems interesting.
This thing is smart. Let me test it.
Oh, this is cool.
Seeing the big story in order to figure things out for themselves. That is the wonder and power of mathematics. And that's what I want to teach students.
Which direction might be the easiest?
Backwards.
I agree. I like that 50 plus 50 gives us 100.
Ooh. My strategy is add up to a number ending in zeros.
470.
Exactly. I'm impressed.
1,000. Yeah.
Well done. We can keep going with more groups of 10.
Oh, now I get it. Now 1 million.
Milton went extra wild. He called it a Googleplex.
Google Black.
Do you still have energy for an extra one?
I'm gonna do one more.
What is the value of 63 quintillion times 0?
0.
Spot on. What if we hadn't invented the symbol 0?
I didn't know that 0 was that important. I just thought it meant nothing.
That was really fun.
Great job. I can't wait for our next session. See you then.
So this is clearly how I think in the future education will also enable us to be faster and to make sure that our education is personalized to the situation of the kid in question. And for education purposes, also if you look back at image recognition, this is an upload in ChatGPT of an electric circuit, and you can ask ChatGPT to look at it, to define all the different building blocks, and to even ask it, where is the error? Where does it need to be updated? And so you can imagine the training that we will roll out for people will be much more personalized, much more at scale, and it will enable us, I think, with new forms of education to cope with that new reality. So generative AI, I think we can all agree it's 9 months old. From here, it will be harder, better, faster, stronger. If you just look at the data sets, so this is GPT-3, the previous version of GPT-4 from OpenAI was trained on 170 billion parameters, which is an enormous data set. And it had an IQ level of around 83. The current version is trained on over 100 trillion parameters and has an average IQ of 155. And so GPT-5, which is already in the works, OpenAI already has a file in the US where they announced that GPT-5 is coming. So they already, I would say, they deponated the brand. So it's coming probably in the coming months. And so the question is, what will be the IQ level of that system and how good will it be? So education will be revamped. I think we as humankind, human beings, will be able to reinvent ourselves. But one thing that is clear, and that's a bit worrying, is synthetic content. So if you think about the elections, if you think about content on Twitter or X now, we will see more and more fake content. And I just want to do a small experiment with you. I have two people here. One is real and one is generated with AI. And I want to ask you if you can guess which the real person is. So who thinks the real person is person A? Some doubters, I think it's around, the percentages go up, 15%, I think. Who thinks it's person B? Okay, and you were exactly right. Probably you did some counter psychology. Exactly. Because we could think that AI will come up with people that look a bit too perfect, I would say. But obviously it's trained on real data, meaning it can generate things that look very real. And there is even something that you can try at home if you want. If you go to the website thispersondoesnotexist.com and you press enter, you will have a new rendered person every time. So every time you hit enter, it's very scary. And if you do it at the same time as your neighbor, he or she will get another one. So it's always unique, always new. You might have seen this one as well. Which we know it's unlikely that he would choose for this garment. So it's not very nuanced. But you can imagine if you do this more nuanced, more detailed, then it might become harder in the future to detect what is real and what is not. By the way, what is interesting is I was born in 1982. My kids are 8 and 11, as I told you. We grew up with the Game Boy, but they grew up in a world of Snapchat, TikTok, and many other platforms, which are sometimes interesting and sometimes have a negative impact. One thing is clear. Studies show that the youngest generation, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are following virtual influencers that are not real. 78% of the younger generations follow virtual AI influencers that seem to be real but are not. Now, to indicate the importance of that, Warner Music just made a deal with Nonuri, and Nonuri is one of the most famous AI influencers on the internet. She has over 400,000 followers and just launched a new music video on YouTube, which went really viral. And so you might think it's strange, why would somebody do this? But it's happening, and this is one thing that I promised myself when I was playing the Game Boy, and my dad and my mom said, it's stupid, you should not focus your time on that. I always said, I will never think that what comes out when I'm a bit older, that it's strange, or that people should not do it, or that the world is going crazy. And so I think I'm open to this. I think we underestimate collectively, also in this room, how much in the future we will speak to bots. How much it will happen. Just like we said, we will not buy a mobile phone. I don't know if you remember. We all said in this room, we will not buy a mobile phone because my boss can call me, my privacy is gone, I'm not alone anymore, and now we all see the value of it. And I think we need to be open-minded to how the future generations are thinking. And sometimes it's crazy, like these are Chinese influencers, fully generated by AI. They work 24/7 around the clock on live streaming to promote e-commerce products. So they're not real, they're just live streamed, they're rendered through computers. And then I saw an interesting news fact about Bruce Willis, who now has a deal in the US with an AI company to work on his virtual double, his AI twin, to still perform in movies. So they mined all the data that is out there, movies, images, and so forth, from Bruce Willis. They made a complete virtual twin, and now he has the IP rights on that virtual double. It's insane, right? So the question is this real life or is this fantasy? Just like Freddie Mercury said from Queen, and I think, by the way, this picture is not real, because there was no smartphone, there was no Twitter in 1986. But I think it's very right. It's a great question, and I believe that we underestimate, again, how much we will speak to these bots. And I see it already today in my behavior on ChatGPT. And maybe some of you will recognize this. I almost feel the urge to say, can you please? Or, so you have the same experience. Or thank you after the message comes out. Because you think it's so good, it also answers politely. And as we were raised in polite ways, we do that. And so the second proof point for me is, and I'm not going to ask you who ever had one, but do you remember the Tamagotchi? Yes? So we fed a digital animal in our pockets. So we humans think we are not going to do something until it becomes so good that we see some value in it. Now, what does this mean for a company, and what does this mean for a great business like yours? I saw some of the ambitions that you have, so you're clearly on the right path. I believe that AI can help in three domains. The first one is customer service, whether it's to generate FAQ answers, but also voice, as I showed you in the beginning. Content generation in every possible form, whether it's content for the outside world or it's a legal document. There are up and down sides, I will show you. And then pattern recognition. Pattern recognition in financial numbers, you can really ask it, okay, our EBITDA was at that level at that time. Where are the consequences or the causes where it dropped or where it increased? The pattern recognition level is insane. By the way, for humanity, if you think about the medication, if you think about the healthcare sector, this is probably something that will turbocharge the solution to cancer, because AI platforms will much faster than human beings be able to detect certain things that are off and to warn us much earlier. But from a company standpoint, these are the three main ones. Now, what is interesting is that we already saw the impact of the machines in the blue-collar situation, and now we see the impact in the knowledge worker situation and the white collars. And I believe there are three things that we need to think about. How will AI impact our process? How will it impact our people and our talents? And what are then the platforms that we need to choose? Because there are ChatGPT, there is Microsoft, there is Amazon. Which platforms do we need to select? And I briefly want to go through these 3 points. So the first one is the process. I think what AI can do today is 3 things. It can help you to do things faster, it can help you to do things cheaper, and it can help you to do things in a richer way. It can create variants of content, it can create alternatives, challenging ideas, so it can come up with a richer framework. Faster, cheaper, and richer, these are the 3, I would say, mindsets where AI can help. And we try to do this for a client of ours called Assa Abloy, a company which is active in doors, sliding doors, and door locks. And they operate on a global scale. And within their process of analysis, ideation, creation, and publication, I just want to show you a few things where AI is already helping them. This is the screen of ChatGPT, for those of you who have not used it before. And I have the ChatGPT Plus subscription, which is costing $30 per month. And you will see that I use the latest version of the language model. So here I asked it a question: can you come up with 3 creative taglines for a new type of automatic sliding doors? First of all, the speed by which it answers is mind-blowing, but then the creativity of the content is really, really good. And then if I ask it, I want 10 more, but I want you to not give them to me in English, but in Arabic, it will start to do the same. My Arabic is not good enough to see if they're really good, but I think they're probably very much on point. So this is just in 10 seconds, but can you imagine for marketing agencies, for agencies working on these kind of branding campaigns, there is something that can accelerate the business. So this is the text part. Then I went to a platform which I can really recommend you called midjourney.com, where I typed in a prompt asking for a hyper-realistic image of a modern automatic sliding door in 8K, which is the quality of the image, in a professional business setting. And this is what came out. So they're in the business of creating these doors. So to fuel inspiration for coming up with new products, this can really help, or for advertising or any other purpose. If I then say I want a person walking through it, it will render that person. If I would say I want a female person walking through it, it will obviously update. I want to have an Arabic person, it will update. Or if I want to have a setting which is more Flanders or Bruges, then it will also work. So these are things that I did in literally like 30 seconds. So you just type in the prompt, boof, and you get it. Imagine I spent 8 hours to render with big combinations, where I, for example, not only say I want a door in a modern setting, but I want a door just like, let me say, Andy Warhol created it. Then if you start to combine names and influences, you get results which are really staggering. So then I went back to ChatGPT, and it's important to notice it learns from your conversation. So whenever you use these platforms, if you continue in the same draft, it will learn from whatever you have said or whatever it already came up with. So here I asked, can you now create me a storyboard for a video of 1 minute based on that tagline? And then you will see that it outlines per 5 seconds what should happen in that video, and when it should shift to which narrator or which zoom it needs to take. And then you will also see that my tagline comes in. And again, this is just one prompt. If I ask it to create 10 variants, then it will come up with 10 variants. And so the skill set here, which you might have heard about, is the prompt engineering. So people that specialize in really writing the best instruction for the machine. And so if you do it, these are the, I would say, 6 things that you need to think about. What do you want it to do? What is the format in which you want the content to come out? What's the audience? What's the tone of voice you want it to use? What type of style? And then you can also say, what do you need to avoid? For example, you can say, act as if you're a payroll specialist. Do you understand? If you start with that, it will say yes, and it will take that knowledge mindset to start the conversation. So it's more than just directly asking questions, it's really the prompting engineering. Within my presentation, which I will share with you, you will also find some styles that you can use. And again, this is where the art of the craft comes in. I know people that specialize in ChatGPT that can do things that are really off the charts. So the moment you really master those machines, you can get way better output. So there is text, there is code, there is the visuals, but there is also voice. And so I went to a platform called 11 Labs, where I used the tagline that I created in ChatGPT, and then I selected an AI voice to speak out my tagline.
Guide into the future, your gateway to seamless transitions.
So if you think about YouTube, for example, today you can make a script for a YouTube video with ChatGPT. You can think about the visuals that you want to use as the opening screen. You can select an AI influencer to speak out your video, and you can select a voice, female, male, older, younger, etc., to speak out your content. There are now young people, I would say the nerds like I was 20 years ago, that specialize in creating faceless YouTube channels. So these people just choose a niche, and they start to make content with AI, and they publish it on YouTube, and they make money with the advertisement. So they're not vlogging with a camera themselves. They're really using AI tools for the voice, for the visual, for the video. So in content creation, but also in innovation. Another client of ours in the food market uses it to come up with new flavors for chips, for example. So here we asked, can you come up with new flavors for the European consumer market? And you will see that it will come up with potential combinations. Some of them are known, some of them might not really sound very interesting, but some of them are things that they have not seen before. And then again, if you go to Midjourney, you can start making the packaging. So here I used the prompts, and the second one is very interesting because here you will see that the AI did something I did not request. The chips fall out of the package, which is a very good creative idea, and this could be a briefing to an agency. So text, visuals, audio, but even websites. So here we did an experiment. We have a small office in the Middle East, in Dubai. And we did an experiment to create a garden business in Dubai. So I enter the location, I give a name of the business, which you can generate with ChatGPT, so you can come up with ideas. And then you click Generate Me this website. And then, obviously, bless you, obviously we need a little bit of time to generate that website. But you will see how fast it goes. Obviously, sitting here and waiting is not interesting. But if you need to create a website, you have a few minutes to spare. So adding some services, then it will come up with a testimonial, which never really was real, so that's nothing new, I would say. Creating the gallery, and then you will see, and this is spectacular to me because I have built websites in the Ghent University in HTML, CSS, and all these coding languages, in Dreamweaver for the, I would say, nerds that still know that. So here you see the images that come out. The About Us section, it has created services that I did not request, but look very professional for me. The testimonial is there, and so forth. And every time I hit regenerate, it will come up with a new potential idea. Now, you will say, yeah, but Dado, we can't use that for our website. Of course not, but it can give you ideas, right? It can give you the fuel. If you're an individual, you can use this for your hobby in theater or soccer. For professional reasons, I think this is ideal to come up with ideas as a briefing to an agency or to brainstorm internally. And then obviously for job descriptions, I think, let's be real, there is not a single motivation letter or CV anymore that is not written by AI. So that's very clear that people are now trying to use these tools to write their CVs. But we can also use it to create a job description. And then I can ask, can you translate this in Polish and in Spanish and in Italian? And maybe it's not perfect yet, but it's 90% of the job that is done. And then I went to Google Bard again, and here I used a text that Peter has shared with me based on a GDPR link, a legislative text, and I asked it to summarize it in a one-pager. And so you will see it takes a few seconds, and it comes up with the summary. Now, I just want to say here, be cautious, because not everything it says is always correct. Make sure that you don't just copy-paste, but it will give you a head start in the work. I did a similar thing with another legislative text, asking it to summarize it in 10 main points, so not just a one-pager, but give me 10 bullet points to summarize this text, and you will see it does exactly that. Then I went to another platform called Perplexity to use a PDF, because what I've done now is I've used links. For PDFs, there's a platform called Perplexity, so I upload the PDF file, which was a file in Italian. I upload it, and you will see it starts to answer my questions out of that PDF. So if you look at these different examples, which are done by me in a very fast process, I would say, if you do that a bit more thoroughly and look through your process, I'm sure you will find many ways where you can deploy these tools already tomorrow. Now, this is the positive side. I just want to make sure I'm a tech optimist, but we need to be cautious. Not always what you will see is right. So there is accuracy problems in the output. And there is even a legal case in the US where 2 lawyers were fined because they came up with cases that did not exist. So they used ChatGPT, they found cases and resources, but they were not, or sources, but they were not correct. So please, make sure that you double-check what you see. Biased responses, especially in HR, there are many examples where you see that the examples it gives are biased, because it's learning from existing data models and from people, so there's bias in the system. Lack of references, copyright, think about what you can use, and there I would say connect with your legal department to see what you can do and what you can't do, or how you cannot use it maybe externally. And then the last one is privacy and transparency. I have to say, I use ChatGPT almost on a daily basis to answer even my emails. So it's insane. You get an email, and there is a plugin that says, do you want me to already write a draft reply? Oh, my life is so much easier. It looks extremely professional. But you need to update it, obviously, to your own tone of voice. And what I want to make sure that you understand is the moment you start to add data or names of people, you're breaching, obviously, GDPR. So make sure that you don't upload, especially in ChatGPT, data from people or data from your customers, because it's using that data in the back end of their data model. So again, these are, for me, 5 things to keep in mind. Now, the second lens is, what about people? And I very much agree, as I said, with Kobe, that I believe that we can reinvent ourselves. I saw this advertisement. Have you seen this one? You did? Yeah. Now, so I agree with Kobe, but I also want to make a kind of flip side of it, is I'm not sure that this is true. I'm not sure that this is fully true. Again, if you think about the 150 of the IQ level, you understand there will be an impact. If you look then at the search volume, you see here November 22, people looking for ChatGPT, but also, will AI replace my job? So people are obviously asking themselves that question. It's a normal reaction. Now, if you look back in history, and I did a little bit of research, this is nothing new. In the 20s, the march of the machines will make idle hands. In the 40s, does the machine displace man in the long run? Then in the 50s, the promise and the peril of automation. The counter-revolution to automation is feared in the 60s and the 70s. In the 80s and the 90s, automation is not the villain. Unemployment will end the honeymoon with robots. So you see, in every decade, if technology comes, especially magazines like Kobe indicated, are coming with a fear standpoint. There is an impact. Technology always had an impact. If you look, for example, at coding, this is a study from McKinsey. If you take a normal coder and he or she is using AI, that person has an efficiency increase of 55%. So again, if we are not naive, there is an impact. If you look in marketing, the cost for a marketing an hour is around $150. If you look at ChatGPT, it's a few cents to create the same material, right? One other thing that I spent my youth on, actually the third thing, so I said the Nokia 33 with Snake, the Game Boy, and also the Rubik's Cube. I was very good at Snake, but I never solved the Rubik's Cube. I don't know if you ever did. I always ended with some colors at the end that were not matching. But a few weeks ago, I think it's 4 weeks ago, there is a new world record that was established by a young guy that solves the Rubik's Cube in 3.8 seconds. So you can find it on YouTube. They give the person who is sitting at a table the block, and it's like, and it's done. It's extremely mesmerizing to look at. But then I saw this video.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah. Which is exactly 10 times faster. So again, there is an impact. But for me, it's not team robot or team human. The next slide for me is probably the most important one out of my whole presentation deck. It's my belief that it's people with AI, not just AI in itself. So humans will not be replaced by AI. Humans will be replaced by other humans using AI. And I think that accounts for everybody in this room, whether you're in legal, finance, data, marketing, innovation, whatever department you are, all your customers is the same thing. Even if you're a CEO, whatever job role that you have, AI will be a co-pilot. And that's for me why I believe indeed that HR is in the driving seat of what is coming. And we call that the man-machine collaboration age. That's where all companies need to prepare now for, is how do we find that hybrid form of machines and AI platforms that run next to human capabilities. So humans will not be outcompeted, but it's up to us to train ourselves to make sure that we can cope. So MMC, how do I see that in detail? Every process, so I'm writing a book for the moment, there is an input with ideas, there is the actual creation process, and then you have the output. And I think if you're not naive, a lot of the creation work will be done through AI platforms, or at least the heavy lifting. But the input, being the prompting of the machine, and selecting the output is still very much a human job. I can create a lot of examples, a lot of material, but selecting what fits with SD Workx to the end customer is something that you need to feel, and that is a very human job. And then if you think about jobs, people think it's often a binary discussion. Some people come to me and they say, the notary will not exist anymore, which might be true, but I don't think it's such a binary thing. If you think about a lawyer, for example, there are many different elements in that job. And some of those elements will indeed be done better by a machine. Others will be augmented, and then I think there will be new elements added to jobs that we don't know today. And I think that accounts for every job. So it's not a binary thing, this will survive, this will not survive. It's much more granular than that. I also believe there are transferable skills. If you think about a graphic designer, that person has creative thinking, art curation, an eye for beauty. Sometimes these people can link concepts very well. Then there are some new skills that can be added to that set of basic skills, and then that person can be transferred to another role. So for me, again, it's not a binary thing, and I think we have all transferable skills that can help us to leap into new potential jobs. And the best way to think about it is the farmer. This is the best example I can give of transferable skills and how we reinvented ourselves as human beings. The first farmers were sitting on the field doing the manual work. And then if you look at the first evolution where the animals came in, they took over the heavy burden of the farmer. And then where the real impact started was the tractor. And I have to say here at this split line, 80% of whole society was in farming. So people were worrying, if tractors do this work, what about us? And today, if you go to a farm, then it's almost an IT company. So they have automatic milking machines, sometimes even drones. It's fully computer and IT related. And so what happened here is that people that were working here reinvented themselves and upgraded themselves to ultimately become the modern farmer. But the other people that did not found other jobs. Again, up till the middle, this was 80% of society. So people find other ways to add value. Obviously, the speed with which this happened was a bit slower. Now it's going a bit faster or a lot faster. But it shows how, as human beings, we always reinvented ourselves. By the way, as a small note, all these images were AI generated. Just a small side note. If you look then at the human competitive advantage, there are three things. Knowledge, and I think we can all agree a computer has more knowledge by now than us. The internet, Wikipedia, and so forth. Creativity, a lot of people said, but we are creative. I think if you look at ChatGPT or Midjourney, you agree with me that machines can be as creative as us. And then emotions, and that's a very interesting one because people now say to me, but Dado, a machine, people show emotions. And that's true. But there are also studies that show the reverse. There was a study in the US a few weeks ago where they looked at doctors and AI platforms and how they communicated to patients. And in 78% of the results in the study, the AI platform showed more empathy to the patient than the doctor. Because they don't always have the time, because they become hard in the job. So we think in our minds that we show more emotion, but that's not always the case. Where I think that the power is exactly in what you do here today. It's building relationships, networks, communities, partnerships. That's really where I think the added value is of human beings in the equation. And that's why I think, as much as I'm a believer in digital and technology, coming here together for me, you will see after these 2 days, you build a relation that you can never mimic on a Zoom call, a Teams call, or a Google Meet. It has to be done in real life between real people, spending a night together, having some fun and some professional elements, and that's where you build the trust. And this will never be done by robots. Never. Maybe in 900 years, but not in the foreseeable future. Not until we go into retirement. Relationships will be our unique added value. And the third lens, and this is very short, is platforms. I can give you 2 recommendations. One is there is an AI4that.com, which is a library of AI platforms. And the other one is futuretools.io. But the thing that I believe we need to consider is that now we need to find those AI tools, and soon they will find us, because they're coming to Microsoft with Copilot, they're coming to Salesforce, they're coming to every major tech suite that we have. So it will come more and more to us. So to conclude, I have 6 minutes left. First of all, I want to say I had some preparation calls with the people of SD Workx working on this, and you're already further ahead than most companies that I've seen. And I know tomorrow there will be a session where you will be showcased what specific use cases SD Workx is already working upon, so I think that will be extremely interesting. I was definitely impressed. On the other hand, for you as a leader in the company, if you look in your teams, this is for me the metaphor that works the best. The roller coaster, where some of your team members will be like me in the middle, very enthusiastic. So this is fantastic what we will be able to do. But there will be some people that are scared, some people like the lady in the middle that don't give a damn, that don't care. Let's say it like it is, sorry for my French. And then some people that are in the mixed zone. So I think it's important to make sure that everybody can be part of this, to take away some of the fears, to show how it's being done in real life, what the framework could be, and so forth. The AI revolution is just getting started. So ChatGPT was launched 9 months ago. It's very, very early game. If you look at the horizons, AI already is very much part of our life. If you use Netflix, you get AI recommendations. If you open Amazon, you get AI recommendations. If you have a Tesla with self-driving, there is already a large part of AI in that. So it exists already for a longer time. Predictive analysis, we already have seen some chatbots, and now we are here at Horizon 3, where we see the power of those large language models. The fourth and the fifth horizon are automation at broader scale. For the people that follow Tesla, they're now rolling out FSD 12, which is full self-driving capacity, where you can really say, I'm now in Bruges, go to Ghent, and this is my house, and it will fully self-drive me there. Not based on computer rules, but on AI with vision in the cameras. It's quite spectacular how that will change how we see ourselves driving. And the last step is integration. I don't know if you followed the company of Musk called Neuralink. He just announced that he has FDA approval for brain chips that will be connected to our brains, which again, if you think about the roller coaster, I found very exciting. Some people will think, whoa, this is a bridge too far, but we are getting there as well. And I think it might be the solution to connect us to the broader IQ levels of these systems. So we are just starting out, we are at Horizon 3, but the puck is going fast. I believe the future of jobs is complementation with these systems. So humans will not be outcompeted by AI, but by other humans using AI. So it's up to us, I think, to train ourselves in this new market. I believe from a company perspective, people, process, and platform are the 3 lenses to look through. What will it mean for our talents? Where can it work just like Assa Abloy in our process? And I know you're already working on that a lot, and which platforms can we select? If you look at yourself, and this is what I'm going to do, so after this presentation, I will jump in my car, drive back to Ghent, which is an hour drive, and I mostly listen to podcasts today. To podcasts about the topic, because it's moving so fast, even for me. It's the first time in my life that I have difficulties to keep up, because the announcements are coming so fast. So you need to immerse yourself. I think you also need to do, because I hope that my presentation brought a bit of inspiration, but it's in the doing that you see the power. And I also think that you need to keep a finger on the pulse, because I said it to Peter before this presentation, I've never had to update my slides so often than these days. Before I could do a little bit of time with a presentation that was good, and I thought, okay, this works. But now the speed is so high. From a company perspective, these are the 7 that I would recommend, is how can we meet with as many AI players as possible? What is the people, process, platform plan? How can we train people in this? What are the policies and the guidelines? Can we have some concrete business cases? And I know that you're working on this, so tomorrow that session will dive into that. Can somebody take the lead in the field of AI? And then can we work on potential solutions, which again, tomorrow is already a start for that. Now to end with, I'm almost at the very end. I see I have 1 minute and 20 seconds left to say that definitely not all hope is lost. Again, I think it's up to us, and we have proven in the past that we are good at it, to reinvent ourselves. But computers are also failing sometimes. There was an experiment with computer vision where it was asked to look at pictures of dogs and to indicate, yes, this is a dog, yes, this is a dog. Have you seen that experiment? Yeah? No? Some of you have? And so they try to confuse the computer, and it works. In 80% of the cases, it's still not working, but the gap is closing. And I think the 20% that we have is up to us to make sure that we are ready. Another great one that I saw in prompting is this one, which also shows computers are not perfect. And then I saw this one. This is 2 weeks ago in Texas. There was a traffic jam of driverless cars. So I don't know if you followed, but in the US, they have now the first completely driverless cars, and they were stuck in a traffic jam with nobody to call because you cannot say, move on, go. So it shows... it shows that we still have a bit of time, right? So I hope again that my presentation brought some inspiration. And I always say you have 90 days to act upon something. If you see something or you believe in something, 90 days is far enough and close enough to act. And what I can recommend you, and this is my biggest practical recommendation, is between now and the end of the year, is to spend at least 20 hours of your personal time in these platforms. I think you need to test, to run some of the personal cases, private cases, professional cases that you can have to make yourself acquainted with it. You will see what works, you will see what doesn't work, you will see it's not perfect yet, but at the same time it's mind-blowing. And it's only by doing and using that you will experience it. So I hope that that is the main takeaway for you. Spend 20 hours of your time on trying things to do. This is a list of things where you can start. Make me a quiz. For example, I'm a snooker fan. If you say, make me a quiz of 10 questions with 3 multiple choice, it just rolls out. Summarize a video, optimize a text for grammar. There's so much that you can do. It just is just a starting point, but please try to experiment yourself. And then to end with, I want to end with something that we think is the future of staying close to the customer, because in an age of abundance and an age of technology, I think more than ever, staying close to the customer is the challenge we all have. People have more choices, more channels, more expectations. So how do we do that? And this is our take on it. I think you need to see how you can turn your audience into a community, both internally and externally. How can you build communities of people that believe in what you do? How can you hire the experience that you give to customers and make it really what we call an experience money can't buy? And then the third part is at the bottom of the funnel, how can you keep your customers loyal? And if you think about the magic triangle, those 3 elements, then for me it's very clear that it's only people who can pull that off. A machine cannot build a community, a machine cannot give an experience, and it cannot work on loyalty. It can help in the 3 dimensions, but it's us that need to deliver that to clients. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time and happy to connect.